a really huge number of people are extremely interested in this guy, Max Yearick. And the thing is, there's not that much known about him. Well, I mean, on the one hand there is, but not really. It's strange. I mean, you know, he's had a pretty substantial social media profile. He's not hiding or anything like that. He had a DeviantArt page, he had a Facebook page, a bunch of Twitter accounts. There were Twitter accounts, and then there's fake Twitter accounts. It's amazing how many people just have nothing to do, I guess. Like that guy. But people who have nothing to do with their time, but just go make like troll social media things. And why would you do that, by the way? You know, there was those videos that guy made in his car where he said, "I am Thomas Crooks," and you've got the wrong guy, or whatever he was saying. Got a construction project over there. But why the hell would you do that? I mean, pretend to be the guy who's accused of killing people? Why would you want to do that? I mean, I know there's a lot of stupid people who do stupid things, but when these things happen, if you're the kind of person who feels like something weird is going on and you maybe don't believe what's being said about it, I think you're within reason to question that kind of stuff. We just heard Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, tell Congress that there's some question as to whether Trump was even shot or not. That seems ridiculous. You could start a website, shot or not, right? Remember that, hot or not? Shot or not. Christopher Wray could join that website, and he's basically an idiot. But what I'm saying is, anytime you hear something that sounds like a lie coming from the FBI, my opinion is it should be considered that until it is kind of like separately proven by facts. Why should we believe anything Christopher Wray says? Isn't he the dummy who said Russia hacked the 2016 election? I mean, he's among the dummies who said that, right? People still think that. I realize there's a lot of people who've gotten, you know, their attention has been piqued by this Donald Trump assassination attempt because it was just so insane how the news attempted to handle it, where first they said, oh, well, he fell down. I mean, if you were watching it or saw it, obviously you hear the bullets cracking and saw him get up with the blood and everything. I mean, all of that was known basically instantly. And Christopher Wray is among the dummies who think, I guess, that Donald Trump staged this. People are still saying that to me. I want to welcome all the people who are new viewers to Crowdsource the Truth, because obviously a lot of people have been interested in not just this Donald Trump assassination attempt, but just the response by the news, because it's weird, you know? I've spoken with John Cullen and other guests about this quite a lot, how Charles as well, because those are two guys who are really kind of rooted in, what do I want to say? You know what I mean? The kind of people who are not prone to so-called conspiracy theories. And we've spoken about it, how even when we were first getting to know each other, Cullen presumed certain things I was talking about were conspiracy theories, because like most people just watch the news and they figure the news is there to tell you what's going on. But there's so many weird things with this guy, Max Yearick, and the news hasn't really mentioned him at all. Now, I think what is happening a little bit is even people who do think that the type of stuff that I'm talking about here is a conspiracy theory, there's like this general sense that people have that, you know, that corporate-owned and advertiser-sponsored news like CNN and the New York Times and MSNBC and any of that, Fox, there's a certain kind of thing that you get from that, you know? It's some person getting paid like $5 million a year to put on a suit and get regenerative hair plug surgery or whatever the hell they're doing, and just, you know, basically be an actor to sit there and read to you what it is that somebody else is paid to write and put on a teleprompter and all that. And then, people see that on the internet, in the independent news world, alternative, whatever you want to call it, this kind of thing, people also have an expectation. Now, it may not be accurate. I think there's probably a lot of people who have started watching Crowdsource the Truth and paying attention to news on X.com and elsewhere on the internet because they felt dissatisfied by the answers they were getting from the mainstream news and the FBI. And frankly, we're so far down this road already, even only 2 weeks after this shooting. They're sitting there in Congress and they're just talking about Crooks. He's on the roof. Bullshit. There's no evidence whatsoever that Crooks, this kid who went to high school, damn it, I forgot that video. Somebody told me where his high school graduation video was. Now, so let's just talk a little bit about Crowdsource the Truth. What does that mean? Because I think a lot of people hear that and they don't really get it. I'm not crowdfunding the truth. You can't do that. The truth is what it is. And the truth is free, by the way. I am crowdfunding my, subscription video service where if people sponsor this show on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth or crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com or subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, for a really low fee, you get access to a library of exclusive content. Is similar to the type of stuff that I put out on YouTube and elsewhere for free, but we go even more in depth, and me and my co-hosts like John Cullen and Lee Stranahan and the various people who come on the show who participate in this sponsor exclusive stuff, we do this so that the news is not dependent on the approval of advertisers, or I should say our content, not the news. The news is what it is. But Crowdsource the Truth content, I don't want to have a situation where YouTube can say, hey, anyway, you know what I'm saying. We don't want advertisers to say, oh, your content can't stay. And this has been happening a lot, by the way, with things around Maxwell Yearick, because in case you don't know, Maxwell Yearick is an individual who basically right away on Saturday, July 13th, when this shooting occurred, shortly after, early evening, maybe 8, 9 o'clock, something like that. It happened 6/11, right? So by nighttime, I think a lot of people were scouring the internet, and I had seen a tweet from Roger Stone saying that his sources tell him that Maxwell Yearick is the shooter, or something to that effect. Now, so let's just think about that claim. Is that an absurd claim from some anonymous, cartoon Twitter account? And by the way, when I say that, people say, oh, but Jason, you use a cartoon on your Twitter account. But that is a AI-generated cartoon of myself that speaks with my voice and has appeared in videos. Point is, when it's an anonymous person who you don't know what it is, I mean, even if Roger Stone put a caricature of himself on there, we know who Roger Stone is, and we know what his reputation is. He's been in Washington, D.C. for decades. Lots and lots of people know him. He's a correspondent and an author and a journalist. He appears on InfoWars, and lots of people see him on there. So the notion that somebody in law enforcement would watch InfoWars and be a friend or fan or follower of Roger Stone, that seems not only plausible, but I'm aware that that's obviously the case. And even, look, Roger Stone, even if you didn't know who he was, he's got 600,000, 800,000, some six-figure following on Twitter, and so people are going to share stuff with him. And he puts out this claim that Yearick is the real shooter. And has that claim been challenged? Has it gotten weaker or less probable since he said it, or has it gotten more probable since he said it? Because you go back to that name, crowdsource the truth. Some people presume that means that I know the truth and I'm crowdfunding the truth, and if you want to pay me, I'll tell you the truth. That's not it at all. I don't know the truth of this matter. I'm trying to find it. The crowdsourcing aspect is what happens when I do these videos and put out things on X and other people see it. One of the best sort of ways this happens, because there's dangers to crowdsource investigative journalism, but one of the best aspects of it is there's a lot of very smart people who are really interested in this, but they find themselves in the unfortunate circumstance of working at some sort of job where obviously it's just they have to kind of keep their, here's dogs in a BMW having a nice afternoon. They got to keep their political opinions to themselves, and actually that's fine. That's a totally good policy, but what it does is it causes these people to have to kind of self-censor and maybe not even participate in social media, because if people who they work with see these controversial posts, it could risk their livelihood. And you know, if you've got kids and a mortgage and all that, I get it. Now I'm hoping to check if the High Line, I don't know if it's still closed. We're going to find out. But anyway, there's a lot of really smart people who don't want to post, but they might send me information. And they're smart and good at searching for things. And sometimes they even have access to databases and information that I don't have. But the point is, people send me stuff. People send Roger Stone stuff. That's the crowdsourcing part. And for anybody, by the way, this video is free. It's going out on YouTube and everything. But when I show some of these images of Maxwell Yearick, YouTube says, oh, that picture's too disgusting to show people, so we're gonna, you know, block this video. You gotta like log in and be 18 and put all these restrictions on it. You can't download them once that happens to it. So it just puts a lot of different restrictions on it to make it not as, you know, freely, you're not really communicating freely. So that's another reason why it's good for people to, even if you don't sponsor the show, just get onto odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth. It's free. And there's a lot of things about it that are better than YouTube. It's now got a decentralized component to it where they're saying it's extremely censorship resistant, and they do not sponsor, or they do not censor the video in any way, unlike YouTube. And it's a good thing for people to support, because we want these social media networks that stand up for doing the right thing, and they'll just like take down images of Maxwell Yearick when they come up. So let's take a look at some of the things that have been happening, because there's also a huge social engineering component that's coming into play here with Maxwell Yearick, and frankly everything surrounding the assassination. Whew, boy, it's hotter than I realized today. 80 something. So Yearick, so we saw when Roger Stone tweeted that, I can't remember if he had an image with it or if I just sort of searched that right away and got an image of him, but there was imagery of him available that first day. And then they had leaked that law enforcement photo. Oh no, did I not? I must have this somewhere. Wait, let me make sure. Because I made a lot of different videos to show people what I'm talking about. Yeah, I think it'll be, no, I have it in there. So let me go through some of these. Basically, when I saw this image that Roger Stone put up along with the image of the dead guy that was allegedly leaked by law enforcement, that just immediately it looked like the same guy. And this kid Crooks, he doesn't look like that guy. A lot of people have spoken about the ear, the very distinctive ear. And we've been talking about that since before last week, when Maria Bartiromo interviewed Ron Johnson, and Ron Johnson said that he had spoken to local law enforcement who gave him all this information about the guy in the gray suit. Came up onto the roof, nobody who knew who he was, told them where to text pictures from their phone too. Now there's a lot of stuff that's come out this week now that Chuck Grassley got that video. Let me go one at a time. So one of these very smart people who doesn't want to post sent me something that this is completely unknown where this comes from, unauthenticated, this would be called. You could not use this as evidence in court. It needs to be authenticated, like you'd need the person who recorded that video to come in and swear under oath that, yes, I recorded this video, and here's my phone and the date and all this. This is an unauthenticated element. We don't know if this is evidence or if this is a deliberately false piece of information that's been injected by somebody that I really don't know. But one of the claims that was made in this Unknown Assets magazine webpage, and I don't believe there is a corresponding magazine to go with that, but assets, intelligence assets, I don't know, is Yearick an intelligence asset? Is he an innocent, uninvolved? Maybe he's a tattoo artist. It's hard to tell what this guy does. He does seem to be a talented illustrator. His DeviantArt webpage had a lot of skillfully done illustrations. Whether you find them aesthetically pleasing or not is a subjective matter, but he's a skilled artist. He can draw things quite well. And he had a lot of pictures of tattoos, but I initially thought they were his own tattoos, but actually that can't be, given other pictures we've seen of him. It seems like he's either giving people his artwork and they're having it tattooed on themselves, or he's a tattoo artist or something. But we haven't been able to find out too many details like that. His sister and mother haven't been answering the phone. But anyway, back to the crowdsourcing idea. This person who was scouring the internet and 4chan and things like that, and made reference to finding things on the dark web. I don't even really have a good idea of how to get there, but they sent me this video that purports to be shot in Ukraine, and it's going to show the face. That guy, the person is saying, is alleged to be Yearick. Now, to be clear, I don't know if it is or isn't. I don't know where this video came from. I don't know if this is a person deliberately trying to send me bad info. I'm showing it to people now because as part of the crowdsource effort, if you see this and you say, oh, I saw that video somewhere else and I have it with sound, or I know who shot it, or you recognize something in it that tells you, no, that can't possibly be Ukraine because of X, Y, or Z, and whatever, you've now seen that, and maybe you will know something about it that will help us identify if that is or is not Yearick. What do you think? I turned it horizontally, and what I was interested in looking at here is his teeth, because in other pictures we see Yearick has pretty messed up teeth, and this guy, he's talking, he looks giddy. Look at how he's smiling, and as he talks we can see he does have some need for orthodonture work up there on his upper teeth. And I'll tell you what's interesting about our mysterious butt boy Yearick is that he's always got his mouth kind of like closed, right? He's one of these guys who doesn't like big toothy grins necessarily. And even though he's young, he's in his 30s and arguably a pretty handsome guy, he's just almost never smiling. See how he's got that? Here he looks happy, but he's got this sort of awkward closed mouth smile that I just personally associate with people who I've known who aren't unhappy people but smile like that because they're self-conscious about maybe problem with their teeth. I've seen that before. But yet in this video that we're unsure where it was shot and who it is, he seems to be unable to contain his joy at being embedded in some battle or some simulation or some training thing where he's messing with guns. And I saw some big, Cullen would know what kind of gun it was there, but see, he's smiling and his mouth is open. Sometimes when these friends I have over my life become so delighted, they still smile and they can't hide their teeth, and that seems to be happening to them here. People have noted that, you know, I took this image, I took this still image into Photoshop, and some people have noticed that, well, you know, his nose looks wider than Yearick. We've got these other pictures of Yearick. He's got a narrow nose. So here's another one where he's got his mouth kind of closed. You can see a little bit of his teeth in this one, but this seems like a guy who's, you know, seen lots of photos of himself and he's sensitive to those messed up front teeth. Seems to match the guy on the left. And also bear in mind, we don't know when the photo on the left was taken. We don't know when the photo on the right was taken. The war in Ukraine, you know, Russia went in there in February of 2022, but there's been fighting and bombing in the Donbass and these, you know, ethnically Russian areas of Ukraine that were, you know, they voted to basically secede from Ukraine and join Russia. And most of the news media tells you that that's Putin taking that over. But no, those people there in the Donbass would tell you that they were getting bombed because they are discriminated against for being ethnically Russian. And who was doing that bombing? My point is, there are a lot of people, including myself, who believe that the United States State Department was funding kind of like separatist and dissident organizations in Ukraine that wanted to fight and bomb Russia and Russians and all that. And who was doing that? No, it wasn't the US Army. The United States didn't make some kind of official declaration where the Marines went in there and it's US Marines doing it. We've heard that there were mercenaries, and somebody, might have even been the person who sent me that video, said that, it might have been somebody else. I don't remember, but somebody told me, no, here's the web page for how to sign up to fight in Ukraine, and you can't do it if you have a criminal record. And I just said, look, I'm not suggesting that he's like fighting in some sort of legitimate NATO thing in Ukraine. I'm just saying, you know, if, oh look, they're done with this part of the construction. So maybe that's what they were doing, taking away, yeah, they took away all this part of the scaffolding. So that's cool, that's good. Sacrifice 2 days to now have it be nice for the rest of the summer. Yeah, that's good. Good job, Highline. Finally, something not stupid happens. Here, they'll tell us what's happening. It's construction, obviously. This is actually an appropriate place to be because 7 years ago, 10th Avenue Square reconstruction project is underway. Oh, they're ensuring the long-term functionality of the park's infrastructure, so it's getting a makeover. That's good. Yeah, 7 years ago, right over here, we did one of the first interviews, I think it was the second interview, with Charles Ortel, and a guy named George Webb was present for that. Now, a lot of people are becoming familiar with George Webb because he's kind of getting all over this Max Yearick story. And I just want to caution people, I'm not telling anyone what to do. You should look at George Webb, see what he's saying. He says, you know, the drones, somebody owns a drone company with the last name Yearick in Arizona. And he's, you know, I don't know exactly what he's accusing them of. He's talking about the explosives allegedly found in the van. A lot of people have raised the really logical point that it's just really not the way police bomb squads work to just say, oh, there's a bomb in this van, throw it on a flatbed and let's drive it out of here. Most people, and I don't know if any of these people have been law enforcement or not, but this does make logical sense. Most people have been suggesting that the bomb squad, if explosives were in the van, would close the thing down, you know, close the neighborhood down, evacuate the neighborhood, and do something to defuse whatever. You don't just haul the thing out of there. I don't know if that's right or wrong. That does seem to make sense. And we haven't heard anything about that having happened. People were accusing this neighbor who got interviewed by Fox News of lying. I would encourage people to not immediately presume that somebody who says something that isn't correct is lying, because lying presumes a motive. That means the guy knows the truth and he's deliberately telling you something false. And maybe that's correct, but I think that without evidence, just saying that is, you have no evidence. You got to presume the guy is innocent. My first thought would be maybe the cops told him there was a bomb in there. You know, he's like, hey, what's going on? This van, all the police cars and whatever, and they say, yeah, there's a bomb in the van. He's going to go back in his house, and then they send the news to talk to him, and he tells the news there's a bomb in the van. And then the police can't get in trouble for lying if that's not true, because they just told this guy to get him back in his house. And he can't really be held accountable for lying to the news. He's just telling the news what the police told him. This is how they learned that the van was filled with explosives, except that really, I guess the FBI told us that. You know, they said the FBI is leading this investigation. So who is taking the point position on media? Does the FBI tell the news what's going on? Does the Butler County Police, Sheriff's Department? I just learned something this morning. I was looking through the Chuck Grassley really excellent video that he's provided, and I noticed that, what was the guy's name? I have it on Twitter. I think I forgot to load it into the phone here. But you know, I had spoken earlier last week, I guess, with Patrick Young, who's a detective and the commander of the Beaver County ESU, Emergency Services Unit, SWAT team. And that is who I had heard was in this research building. Now, see, I just realized something. This was quite crafty. What's that? Do people see that odd boat going by? Huh, it might have been, I don't know what it was. So there's something crafty. We've been told, and all those guys testifying in Congress, they said Beaver County ESU was inside the building. And that always struck me as what? Why? Why were they inside? And then they tell us this whole story about how the guy goes, he sees Crooks, right? Down by the air conditioner. He takes a picture on his phone. Oh, now did I load this? You can see a couple frames on the Grassley video where one of the SWAT officers on the roof is going through his phone to show this dude, who is some kind of Secret Service guy. They're going to show him the pictures that they just took of Yearick being dead. And he's scrolling through, and you can see he's got the picture looking down at the air conditioner. So what is going on? Were these guys on the roof or in the room and then get called down to go chase after who they're told is Crooks? Shoot, I might have just lost the broadcast. Did I lose it? Why did that happen? This is another reason why people should watch on, let's see, did I lose it? I hope I didn't just lose the broadcast. What happened? Yeah, people are talking about the Ukrainian army. We're going to get back to that, but I don't know. I think I just lost. Okay, it seems to be back, at least on YouTube, so hopefully it'll remain continuous. Yearick's mom is a chemist? Who told you that? That sounds like crap that George Webb said. I don't think so. His mom had a business. I don't want to go into, see, here's the thing. Okay, this is so ADD, but I have to do it. Tim, stop with all that crap. You're parodying George Webb shit, okay? There's a lot of people with the last name Yearick. This is like George goes over to Bergdorf Goodman and explains to you that, oh, you know, Jason is controlling the real estate and retail empire from here. Just because it has the last name Yearick doesn't mean it has anything to do with this guy. And it's amazing to see that George is going to all of this sort of unsubstantiated, stupid information at the exact same moment that we're finding out a lot of important things about Yearick. So please, let's stay off of that. Let's go back to this picture for a second of Yearick in whoever this is, this unknown subject. So let's compare this to other known pictures of Yearick. And keep in mind, this could be years before. Yearick was arrested in 2016 at a Trump rally and sentenced in, I think, 2017. So what if they said, hey, why don't you go to Ukraine and we're going to train you? Do those crooked teeth match? We don't have a lot of pictures of the guy's teeth because he almost never has his mouth open. And I don't know. I'm not telling you that's Yearick. I'm saying I don't know. This is how we crowdsource the truth. People are going to look at this and you'll say, well, it looks this way to me. It doesn't look that way, whatever. Maybe you'll find another picture of this guy with his mouth open. Maybe you'll find this video of this soldier-looking dude and you'll find it with sound. Certainly, if this character is speaking English, that would weigh in favor of it being at least an American person. And if we hear other people speaking Russian while that guy's speaking English, that would also weigh in favor, potentially, of it being an American. I spoke with John Mark Dugan about this. And for people who don't know Mr. Dugan, he is Bad Wolf. He's a great guy, and it's an amazing story that John has there. I've been, friends with him to the extent that we know each other through the internet and lots of Zoom calls and working together on stuff for, 6+ years. It's a whole other story with Dugan, but he's not doing shows right now, but I am in regular contact with him. There's things that he's shared with me pertaining to him, and he's got a family and things that he needs to protect. People know that he was doing a lot of amazing on-the-ground reporting in Ukraine. He was in country and developed like a network of foreign expatriate journalists from Germany and France and the United States and Russia, and he was going all through Ukraine. People who were following John know that some of the people he was working with have been killed. Daria Dugina got blown up. So he's not doing shows right now, but I asked him about what this person told me, that mercenaries or whatever in Ukraine can't have a criminal record, and he said he knows personally firsthand that that's not true and is aware of people who actually left the United States to get away from criminal stuff and go to Ukraine. And I believe he was talking about people who were fighting like in the war on behalf of, I should have asked those girls what they think of the Donald Trump assassination attempt. But what I'm talking about is not him joining NATO and fighting in the war. I'm talking about if you agree that the State Department and the CIA fomented a coup in 2014 that came to a climax with the Euromaidan, the burning of that government building that killed 200 people in Maidan Square, and the ouster of, Poroshenko. This was because they wanted to make a trade deal with Russia, Poroshenko. It's so difficult to keep these names straight. This is why it's important to have Lee. We had a great show with Lee last night with John Cohen. People can check that out. But they ousted him, put in a Zelensky, a NATO-favored puppet, and in my opinion, the entire purpose of this was to continue the decades-long mission of destroy first the Soviet Union and then Russia, to prevent another economic or military superpower from rising to challenge the United States of America. That's their stated goal, the neocons, the PNAC, the Project for a New American Century. You can look that up and read their manifesto. These are the same people who I think are involved in this plan to kill Donald Trump. And Cohen raises the very good point that there's a lot of people in Ukraine who would be motivated to do this, to want to kill Donald Trump. They know that Trump is saying he's going to end the war, and the continuation of the war represents a huge windfall for corrupt politicians in Ukraine. That's a tough-looking dog. Like Zelensky. So the notion that they would say, hey, Zelensky, while we have this war going on in the Donbass and you need like basically terrorist-type dudes like that dude Boneface. Remember when Laura tangled with that Nazi? Laura Loomer was like going to a haircut appointment or something like that and saw a bunch of Nazis hanging out and started asking them a bunch of questions, and then we realized that that guy Kent, I forget his last name, Trent, Kent, whatever it was, Boneface, was like down with the CIA. He got arrested later that day, that same day, and Laura had body cam footage. So I presume there's some police officer on some Broward County, whatever, who's like, hey, Laura Loomer is hot. I'll send her this video and maybe she'll like me or something. Or let me not demean the law enforcement officer who did that, because you see, just like these smart people who want to share information with me without, something's on fire. Just like these people who want to share information with me without risking their job, there's going to be law enforcement people who realize that something bad is going on, but also realize that they're risking their lives if they say anything, and also risking the safety of their family. So they want a way to let people know without getting themselves in trouble. So you leak it to Laura and she put it out. But my point is, this is like body camera footage straight from the cops, and they were saying that there was a file, you know, some sort of letter from the FBI or the CIA. There's a little difference between them at this point. But in this Boneface's, you know, records that the cops get, it just basically said, let them go. So that's weird. And you know, we know that there are people who sign agreements, like we've seen this cooperation agreement. This is a criminal, this is a plea deal, component of a plea deal signed by Felix Sater. Remember how crazy that stupid girl Julie went when I started talking about Felix Sater? Why does she care so much? I mean, she's not related to Felix Sater. You'd think of all the people in the news, Felix Sater is her favorite character that she's going to dedicate, she says, thousands of hours to start a fight with me. People can read this document. It's online. I haven't even gone through all the details of it. It's talking about financial stuff. We could learn a lot more even about this deal, but you can see this was signed by Andrew Weissman right there and Felix Sater, right? So there's no question that the Department of Justice and the FBI and all kinds of people like that, they enter into these weird agreements with people. Felix Sater swears it's not the FBI, it's DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, which we're told retired Lieutenant General Michael Flynn, he was in charge of that after he spent 33 years in the Army. Always reminds you about the 33. But anyway, how do we know that when Max, here, this is this like new fake beach. Yeah, this is actually where I wanted to go. How do we know that Max didn't sign a similar agreement? In fact, why wouldn't we presume that he did? Because we know that he's been arrested. That's well documented. A lot of people have been sharing that online. I found actually a video. This was on Facebook. Where is that? Yeah. So this is a video, this is a section of a video that was shot at the same Trump rally where Max Yearick was arrested. I think that might be him. I feel like I've seen news videos showing that. The news story was just that 3 people were arrested at that Pittsburgh rally in 2016. The 3 people were Max Yearick, Keenan Hooper, and Lisa Cuyler, Cuyler. Those are the 3 people that the news tells us were arrested. Now, I am not a biologist or a Supreme Court justice, but the person being arrested did not appear to be a woman to me. So that means it was either the news is wrong, which is possible, or that person was either Max Yearick or Keenan Hooper. I don't know. It's also possible that they arrested other people and don't want you to know about that. I don't know. Oh, look, ducks. People tell me they're dangerous, so we won't interface with the ducks, but they are there. Yeah, see, I bet people don't know these ducks are dangerous. Someone told me the ducks are dangerous and can be aggressive. I don't know if you know that. They said, I would hate to see a little girl get pecked by a duck. It's interesting. So that's the duck section of the show. But I don't know, I mean, is that Yearick? And if it is, again, how did that wonderfully produced shot of him getting arrested, that was not, like I just come out here, you know, with no particular plan. I was gonna come over and walk to this fake beach, but I didn't. It's not like I had a producer, we had 3 production meetings and decided the route. Are these fish in the water? Are people fishing and catching and eating these?
Not so much eating, but these are all of the fish that are commonly found in the Hudson River.
Are they poisonous if you eat them because of pollution?
It's recommended for men, like 1 fish a month, and then for women not childbearing age.
You're talking about specifically from the Hudson River, or any fish at all? So they're poison enough that if you eat 1, you're okay.
Yeah.
But don't push
exactly.
it. Okay, they're like Pringles though. You can't have just 1. Take it easy. Or maybe that's, what's the ridges? What's the one? There's some kind of ridged potato chip. Anyway, that's not important. So I don't know who that is, but the point is, you know, I made this thumbnail image today, which, we're exploring the manipulated photo evidence of the Donald Trump assassination attempt. We were talking the other day about this Doug Mills photo and the totally improbable nature of it. People who are familiar with the JFK assassination are going to know that the Life magazine cover has admittedly involved manipulated photography. So this entire case, basically, you know, they're saying it's Crooks, and a lot of people are saying, well, okay, why do they want you to think it's Crooks? I mean, that again goes to motive. It's difficult to know, but here we have Dogecoin action with the Doge. Why? Well, it's a good question. I would think it's because knowing who was up on the roof of American Glass Research would tell you a lot about who was behind this. See, it seems to me that there were legitimate local law enforcement officers who required a deception to get them into position where someone inside that American Glass building could take the shots. See, this is where it's awesome because we can combine. Ruffles have ridges, lays don't. Thank you, man. See, that's crowdsourcing. I just was able to remember something that I couldn't. What about mercury? Oh, in the fish. Right. Well, I think there's going to be a lot more than just mercury, right? And didn't Robert F. Kennedy somehow clean up the Hudson River? I don't think I would eat a fish from there. Ruffles have ridges. So let's see, there's other stuff that I wanted to tell everybody about too, though. So we've got that interesting photography of him. Right, so, yeah, so why would they want you to think it's Crooks? Well, we saw that video of Crooks leaving the supermarket with his father. I think that's Crooks. If it was the mother, why does she need a mask and a hoodie? Why would she be carrying the keys on a carabiner, on a jeans, pants, belt loop? That's 20-year-old kid stuff, not mom stuff. Moms have purses with their keys in there. Might wear sweatpants to Walmart, but why the hoodie? Why the mask? And the whole back off. You know, why'd your son want to kill the president? He's like pissed off that they're impugning his, you know, integrity or his reputation or something. He's the first or something. Back off. No comment. That's Crooks. And so, see, I think on the fairgrounds on July 13th, I don't think the real Crooks is there. I think the real Crooks is involved. So we really got to think this through, you see, because crowdsourcing is also not, it is not an opinion poll of what the truth is. I'm finding a lot of people, they just say, well, I think this. And it's like, what do you mean? Why? What evidence supports that? Well, I don't know, it could. Yeah, right, but we can't just like make up scenarios and hope that maybe that's what happened. I mean, you could do whatever you want, but it's not an effective way of finding the answer. What I like to do is try to whittle away everything that doesn't make sense and then just focus on the stuff that makes sense. Why do we want to go look at explosives and drone companies in Arizona just happen to be run by somebody with the last name Yearick when we have no actual evidence that anybody flew a drone there prior to the shooting? Like, why didn't the FBI say, okay, here is the serial number for the drone, here's the IP address, here is the flight path that it flew. We got this from DJI because we basically sent them a national security letter because that's what the FBI does. They could tell us any of this. And by the way, the fact that they're not should make you suspicious. In my opinion, sheep herder's hook tool, what is it called, Jerry? A cheetle, is it? That's interesting. Yeah, see, that's what I mean. There's all these little weird hidden messages in here. And people say, yeah, that's a conspiracy theory. But is it? I mean, you had the director of the FBI sitting there. People behind the president were killed and injured by bullets. We heard the sound of guns being fired, and a medical doctor treated a former president for a gunshot wound that he said was a gunshot wound. Wouldn't a doctor say, that's not a gunshot wound, it looks like Trump was in the World Wrestling Federation and cut his own ear? Wouldn't the doctor say that? No, the doctor would lie for Trump. Okay, so you're telling me, some people said Trump set this whole thing up. And I said, okay, I'm certainly willing to entertain any claim, but only if it is backed by strong evidence. And the more extraordinary your claim, the more extraordinary evidence you would need. Like, for instance, if you produced a video from behind the podium, which perhaps we haven't seen yet, that just clearly shows that happening, and lots of people scrutinized the video and found it was an authentic video, maybe you would have the necessary extraordinary evidence to prove that. But so far, all the people saying that have just guessed. They say, well, that could have happened. Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, conceivably it could have if Corey Comparatore's family were lying and pretending. How would they do that, though? You had some unknown emergency room doctor saw what? A special effect of a guy who got shot? So now you're saying Trump said, okay, just shoot the people around me and I'll stand there and duck, then I'll cut my own ear. That's absurd. He would obviously be way too afraid that he would be shot. I wonder what she thought of the Trump assassination attempt. No one would do that. It's absurd. The notion that Trump didn't actually get shot, and you had the director of the CIA sitting, the FBI, Freudian slip, sitting there telling Congress that there's a question as to whether Trump was actually shot. That is the stupidest thing I could imagine a person saying, particularly somebody who's supposed to be in the FBI. So they could be transparent. They could be showing us this stuff, but they're not. So we have no evidence that a drone flew, and we have no evidence that there was any explosives in the van, but yet George is busily trying to, he's doing a few things, and be like, oh, stop talking about George. The reason I'm talking about him is that he's trying to do something that is detrimental to your understanding of the facts, and it's something that I observe he does all the time. I don't know, do we want to go to Diddle Island? What's the consensus of the crowd? Diddle or no diddle? Are people aware of this? Barry Diller's Little Island? Oh, I do have a kind of a sad announcement. Not sad, but it's the end of an era. Another reason why I wanted to come out and do this video today, because Charles Ortel has moved out of New York. Vacated his apartment, and that show with Dr. Corsi was the last in-person Charles show for, I don't know. But Charles will continue to appear by Zoom. Might be some adjustment to the time schedule as people observed, and he was traveling internationally, but you know, thanks to everybody who's, you know, helped grow the closing in. Diddy Island. Well, Diddle Island. No Diddy, people say. Well, we got a controversy. Might as well. Some people might not have seen Diddle Island. Yeah, Barry Diller is an interesting cat. He is the CEO, or he was at one point, of IAC, Interactive Corp. And that thing owned Match.com and Vimeo. Karen Burns says no. Secret Service applied the fake blood, somebody says. I mean, they got to be joking, right? There's just so much evidence that that's completely stupid. So, I mean, like I said, if somebody has evidence, I'm willing to listen. And if the evidence is sound, you might have an argument. Now, here's a path I think I haven't gone on in this park. So let's see what's up there. Oh yeah, I don't think I have. It's nice to explore these new things. So what do people think? Is that Yearick in Ukraine? What I'm trying to do is trying to find more information. There's going to be somebody who saw him there, saw a video of him. It has the sound on that. All we really need is the sound on that video. Someone's going to know his name. Because, by the way, it's already very, very strong evidence that he was involved. We see him on the roof. He has said nothing for the past 2 weeks. The mother and the sister are still active on social media. Facebook, definitely at least Facebook. And I even see people on there. This is what I wanted to say. I see people, ooh, is that Mario Brothers? That dude looked exactly like Super Mario. Damn it, I wish the camera was facing forward. Oh, and now I just blew my train of thought. So, yeah, Charles will be missed, but, so wait a minute. So here's what he's trying to do. So he's going around investigating everybody with the last name Yearick, but this is what he always does, right? Matcha Banasi, it's just anybody Banasi, he was all over. And then, so what is he attempting to do? Well, I believe, and to be clear, the things I'm sharing with everyone today, these are my opinions. This is pure opinion formed by observing evidence in the public domain. You might observe the same evidence and come to a different conclusion. These are my pure opinions. Isn't that trippy? And people say, why are you talking like this, Jason? You sound like a lawyer. Well, I'm not a lawyer, and it's important that people understand that as well. Nothing I ever say is legal advice, and it's not intended to be. And the reason I speak like this is because George and his fucking asshole, mentally ill, wife-swapping, paperclip Nazi brother have been suing me and or fomenting lawsuits against me, encouraging third parties to sue me, basically engaging in lawfare for the past 7 years. So I'm very cautious to share information with people in a way that lets you know that these things haven't been proven in court yet, and it's possible I'm wrong. I don't think so, but you might look at these facts and have a different conclusion. So anyway, he's trying to something will happen with George where CNN or the Washington Post or somebody is going to have an article pretty soon that's like, oh, drunk asshole and professional punch bowl turd installer moron George Webb has done X, Y, and Z, and now anybody who does anything relative to anybody named Yearick is going to get deleted from YouTube or whatever, and harassment, and that's what he's trying to do. That's what he does. He gets around sensitive information and covers it over in bullshit so that you just, serious thinking people, who his intent is for them to see his information before they see the real information and have, is Usher doing something here? Oh, you guys are ushers. See how you're fooling people? You're going to sell a lot of tickets for that. That would be cool if Usher was there. I guess that's the bathrooms. Well, there you go. So there's a little section of Diddle Island that I haven't seen before. Wouldn't that be funny if Usher did a concert and there's like 12 seats there? I don't think that they would do that. So yeah, Cullen refers to it as pissing in the pool. This is more intelligence tradecraft, you know? I'm very convinced that it was not the plan to miss. And people say, oh, if they were professional shooters, how did they miss? The thing is, they didn't miss. Really, if you look at that 3D simulation of Donald Trump's head, which we've discussed, how I feel that's quite accurate. You know, it'd be impossible to make something 100% accurate, but that's way over 85% accurate. That might be more than 95% accurate. It's, I think, a very accurate model and simulation of the flight of the bullet. And just he happened to turn his head at the last second and avoid getting shot. I think what was happening and what we're figuring out from a lot of the calculations that Cullen is doing is that they had some kind of plan going where one set of snipers was going to shoot at the counter snipers while the person positioned on the roof of American Glass Research was going to shoot at the target. So let's think about this a second, because back to this question of why do they want us to think it's Crooks on the roof? Well, because if you set out to murder a president, you either believe that one 20-year-old kid got up onto the roof all by himself, or you don't. And like we've said, there's just so much contradictory evidence. Did people see this video that I made? I stabilized this video. This is a person who they tell us is Crooks, walking right towards American Glass Research. People were analyzing the gait, comparing it to that guy who was angry hoodie kid at Walmart, and people were saying, oh, he's got the same shoes. So there's a couple questions. It's almost like somebody could build a logic tree. Like, Crooks was either the real Thomas Matthew Crooks, who we see in several scenes in a high school. And see, I think that's good, authentic evidence. Let's talk about that for a second. How can you tell if evidence is good or not good? Well, if you have like a continuous uncut video, or even it's switching cameras, a live produced video from the high school. I forget the name of his high school, but it's like a public school. It's a known thing. Now maybe that high school is run by the deep state. We can explore that. It's certainly possible. But he's got a video there produced by the high school that has been on YouTube since 2022, before we ever heard of this kid. And he's in it. Okay, so I've downloaded that and we're gonna look at that, but that's a good HD video. People have seen screen captures from that, but I'm not always confident of the screen captures that other people do, because there's a lot of people who don't engage in best practices when handling digital files, and there's a lot of people who don't get access to the original files. So that is super important, is to understand where the files came from. First of all, from a legitimate evidentiary standpoint, I see people who are injecting bad evidence, and I'm getting pissed off. If you're gonna come and comment on a tweet that I'm making with some evidence that you have photoshopped, and I say, no, don't do that. If you come back and do it again, I'm gonna block you, because you're suspected of being a social engineer trying to plant bunk evidence. And there's a lot of people doing that. But anyway, this evidence from the high school, that's better in terms of a presumption of authenticity than just this video that somebody sent me of somebody we don't know, maybe in Ukraine. We have no idea where that came from. I think it's a less likely probability that the whole entire high school is a CIA operation than it is that one idiot could send a fake video. And that's just inarguable. It is possible that the CIA could start a high school and send genius kids there to develop sheep dipped from birth operatives, but that's a separate investigation that we would have to do. And even if it was, the video still doesn't appear to be doctored, because that would be a much bigger deal to have a high school video that it's live streamed on the day of the graduation. That seems like there are a lot of things about it. It's almost self-authenticating in that way. It's on the high school website. That's pretty authentic, versus just who the hell sent this video. And I see a lot of people making a lot of conclusions from very poor evidence. Again, I'm not saying, it's my opinion that Max Yearick was on the roof. And also, by the way, all the comparison of ears and leg tattoos and arm tattoos that you want to do, none of that addresses the fact that Yearick's mother, Yearick's sister, Yearick himself have not come forward and said, hey, stop smearing my brother, my whatever, because he's not involved and here he is, he's still alive. So people are saying any tests on ballistic gel yet? You mean shooting stuff into ballistic gel? I don't have that. I don't know how to do that. Someone could. What would a gel test do? Don't they want to test the bullets that were fired? I mean, that's the thing. It's the FBI that's going to do all this testing. There's just no reason to believe anything they tell us. I mean, we may have to rely just on the available evidence that there is, but think about this for a moment. So the fact that that SWAT operator, and we don't know who he was, right, this is what I wanted to tell people. I put this on Twitter. If you aren't following me on Twitter, on X, it's a very good idea, at JG_CSTT, because like things like images and stuff, I can't really do a whole YouTube video maybe about just an image. Isn't this an adorable little Dachshund, I think, dog? Very cute. But you know, sometimes if it's just an image, we just pop that onto X, and there's a lot going on there. Like, let me see if I. Yeah, we zoomed in on his ear. Right, so this was it. It wasn't clear to me if people knew that the Washington Regional SWAT team, well, I don't even know if this is correct, because I had understood that they told us that it was the Beaver County ESU on the roof. But I observed in this Chuck Grassley picture, this is hard to do, this is a bad way to do it just on the phone, but yeah. Here, can people see this? This guy on the roof, you could see his patch in the Chuck Grassley video, and it says Washington Regional SWAT. So that's interesting. How does that play into the testimony we heard in Congress the other day, where they're saying, you know, ESU was in the building, somebody else was on the roof. We don't have a good picture of who was where, when, and also here, these are flex cuffs that same officer had on his belt, because people were trying to evaluate Yearick's tattoos. We had this image where if people go onto X, you can see it much more clearly, but there's a very clear shot of his inner right forearm. And very curiously, not a single other picture of Yearick's inner right forearm has been located as far as I know. So here's another crowdsourcing opportunity. If you are aware of a legitimate picture of Max Yearick's right forearm right there, if he's got that tattoo, it seems like really additional strong evidence that that's him dead on the roof. But also, what about, does Crooks have any tattoos? Wait a minute, we got a lot more images. So I mean, that's the thing. So he's in high school, he could have gotten that tattoo the day before the shooting, and actually, wouldn't that be smart? Someone not having a tattoo prior to July 13th doesn't mean they didn't have it there. The other thing people are saying is, no, that can't be him, because he has pants, and then he has shorts, and it's too hot on the roof. So, okay, they told us that the roof, there's this white stuff on the roof, which is some kind of silicone stuff that is, someone said, just specifically designed to prevent the roof from getting too hot. Damn it, I think I forgot that as well. I thought I had captured, oh no, here it is. Yeah, so people know this guy, Benny, what's his name? Johnson? Thompson? I think Thompson is the congressperson and Johnson is the, I don't know. But we got this guy, Benny, and somehow he went there, and people said he went with Congress and they let him on the roof of American, look at what they're saying. They got Donald Trump in a kill box. That guy blocked me on Twitter, whoever that TNJ Truth, whatever he is. That guy's just a content aggregator and thief. Look at this. Doesn't that look like bullets? Like somebody shot bullets at the roof? Look at how clean the rest of the roof is, not showing those kind of... Doesn't it look like somebody behind him was shooting? I don't know. But so what are they doing? Benny's going there on the roof, and he was over there saying, oh, the water tower now has a lock on a fence around it. Ooh, so what? I mean, just the fact that idiots like George were making videos about water towers could be sufficient for that water tower company to say, oh no, people are going to try to climb up our water tower to take a picture or do whatever, put a fence there. It's really not evidence of anything. It's just sort of like, I don't know, provocative. He's just trying to get your attention or something, draw you away from the real evidence. Oh, look, a Fisker. See, this is a good sign that all this stuff is going to fail. You've got, right in this neighborhood, Tesla, and then they opened Fisker, which is a competitive electric car manufacturer. The guy that Elon Musk hired to, I think, design the body, is this Elon Musk? Started Fisker, and according to Musk, stole whatever from him. And then you've also got right over there, what's the other one? Lucid. I just think those companies are going to fail. I saw a show about the economics of Lucid, and they said that the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund is investing tons of money, like $1 billion a month, maybe? I don't know. That might not be right, but some huge, ridiculous number that they'd be failing without. I don't know. I mean, I think electric cars are good and interesting, but for right now, they're not for everyone. And anytime you mandate any product, that's a problem. So these guys are trying to push bunk evidence, trying to basically do things to make it impossible for journalists and people who aren't controlled, right? If you're working for Fox News or MSNBC, they pay you millions of dollars so that when they tell you to shut up, you will, and if you won't, they fire you. And then the person who gets your job for $1 million less than you were getting realizes, I better shut up. And they keep doing that until they find somebody who shuts up. So to counteract the things that people who aren't controlled by that method try to do, we have disinformation agents who inject false narratives and deceptive tricks into the social media zeitgeist to fool people, and they want you to turn away from this information. That girl Julie straight up told people, don't subscribe to Jason. You know, make him starve and die so he has no money and can't talk about this stuff anymore. I think people should go look at what she's writing about Felix Sater, and if you read it and understand that she's promoting the FBI DIA story, you gotta ask yourself, why is she doing that? And will Felix Sater file an appeal? He lost his civil case. The funny thing is, I think he might have been telling the truth about one thing in that case. He said that the Boys law firm, Boys, Schiller, Flexner, had basically lawfared him to run out all his money, and that now he was bankrupt. That's possibly true. I do believe what Felix Sater says when he tells me that Boys, Schiller, Flexner are lawfare practitioners. That might be just about the only thing he said that I believe, but like most of these guys, if I can corroborate what he's saying with tangible, independent, verifiable evidence, then I feel like it's very probably true. What do you ladies think about this assassination attempt against Donald Trump? See, they didn't want to talk about it. I thought it was a good way to open, but apparently not. I guess they don't care. That's pretty amazing. Remember the other day, didn't those other girls come up to me and start talking about it? I just wonder what people think. Yeah, so why do they want you to think it's Crooks? Because that is necessary for this whole thing to be tied up neatly in a bow. If we start having to explain what Max Yearick is doing there and what Max Yearick may have been doing in Ukraine if he actually went there, and to be clear, I haven't verified that. That's just a claim. And I see so many people amplifying that. You know, another reason why I wanted to do another video here about Max Yearick is because I just see so many people amplifying that initial article, which just said that he's affiliated with the CIA and the Ukrainian army. Didn't provide any evidence, but let's just dissect it from a logical standpoint, because why do they want us to think it's Crooks? I speculate that they want us to think it's Crooks so that they can say, it was one guy, that guy's dead, this is over, stop talking about it. I think that's why. And so the other question that's come up is this notion of how could they convince a guy to go take a bullet in the face? And the answer is, I don't think you could. And also, this addresses some of the people who are saying, no, that picture of him, it doesn't look like him. Okay, so first of all, we know he's arrested and goes to Allegheny Prison, 2016, 2017 timeframe. And so we also know that the disruptions and fighting in Donbass and throughout Ukraine, that's been going on since 2014. So Yearick could have been there 2017, 2018, 6 years ago. If the guy's 37 right now, does he look different when he's 31? I don't know. How did his teeth get messed up? Maybe they started out that way, but also, isn't it true that a lot of times when young men are in war zones where they feel particularly hopeless, that turning to drugs is pretty common? I think that was a big problem in Vietnam, wasn't it? Does anybody know if there is some particular drug that, I feel like I almost might have even heard that there is some particular drug of choice in Ukraine. And what happens if Yearick is out there and, you know, he's out of jail on this kind of Felix Sater style secret plea deal? Possibly, we don't know, we haven't seen that. But they say, okay, look, you can either go to jail or you can be a maniac for us. And we know that the CIA has trained anti-Castro Cuban militants in Lake Pontchartrain, Louisiana. That was going on right before the JFK assassination, and those guys, you know, that was like Alpha 66, all those, like that picture we saw of Rafael Cruz and what's his name, the guy who's in charge of Alpha 66? I'm forgetting his name. I'm forgetting his name right now, but they're standing there while Kennedy is driving up. What's his name? Antonio Veciana. So Veciana and Ted Cruz's father are standing there. So, I mean, I don't think they convinced the guy, you're going to go up there and get shot in the face. I think they convinced them that, hey, we're so smart, and these people are so stupid, because they definitely think that. I think they might have it wrong, but they think that. They say, okay, we're so smart, and these people are so stupid. Here's what we're going to do. You're going to go there over to American Glass Research, where, by the way, we essentially control the location because they're deep state guys. Remember, this is my opinion formed based on information I've seen in the public domain. Excuse me, sir. Excuse me, sir. What is that symbol on your shirt? All right, anyway, that looks very similar to a medallion that Obama is wearing when he's an 8-year-old kid in Indonesia, but it might just be a logo for a brand, and he didn't want to talk. Yes, and of course the Oddfellows ice cream. So they control the potentially Masonic American Glass Research. That's Oddfellows ice cream. People know about the Oddfellows, right? I never heard of them before Charles and I went to Norway, and they had a big Oddfellows headquarters there. Looked them up and it was quite weird. Right, meth, exactly, that's what I was getting at. So let's say that picture is him in Ukraine in 2017 or 18, and he's relatively healthy, and he's 31. And what if he gets into smoking meth, or who knows what the hell they might be doing over there. And remember when David Hawkins used to always tell us about how that Eli Lilly patent for lysergic acid that had characteristic patterns of rage, maybe they want to give this guy drugs. So imagine you're starting out with somebody who's maybe a very good artist, but stupid. I don't know, is Max Yearick smart, stupid? I published on X earlier stuff I got from his, what was it called? Some sort of blog. I forget it was. He has this persistent meme website, and then he had some blog where he just wrote a lot of stuff. So I put that out there. You can read it if you want, but we don't even know if he wrote that. And see, this video of him in Ukraine, whether it is him or not him, you know, there's just all this kind of media that's out there. Like we saw that kind of nicely produced video of that riot that broke out at the Trump rally in Pittsburgh. Now, look, maybe establishing a background for this guy as a rioter who's been arrested before, where we can point to this if and when we need to activate him to do something, we can say, oh, look at his history. But for whatever reason, they don't want us to know that he was up there. They want us to think that it was Crooks, and they're digging in on that. It's not like Fox News has seen all this information. I can't believe Jesse Waters, producers for Jesse Waters and Tucker Carlson, those guys have used material from Crowdsource the Truth before. What's up, guys? I don't mind. I'm just saying it seems like you're ignoring this and going with the it was Crooks story, even though that doesn't really add up. So they say, hey, listen, Yearick, you're not that smart and you're halfway in the bag on meth most of the time anyway. We control this building. You're going to go there. You're going to be led there by 2 cops. And we see something like that going on. I'm not exactly sure what we're looking at, but in this video that I stabilized, what is going on? Is he being followed by the cops, led by the cops? I don't know what the hell is going on there, but he's walking right to American Glass Research, sort of undeterred. Everybody in 2024 knows people have cameras, dash cameras in their cars, cameras on every store, all over the place. You can't reasonably expect to walk around and not be seen. So that's a guy who's there to draw everybody's attention. Then there's this whole little hokey pokey where he's down by the air conditioner and people are now saying they've closed that off. You can't go near or look at that air conditioner or something like that. But there's this whole hokey pokey where there's a noise that draws, I guess, at least 2 local police officers, SWAT or whatever, draws their attention down from the roof or well, they couldn't have been on the roof, right? They must have been in the room, and then they see that guy. So is this the moment that a switcheroo of some kind happens where the cops who aren't in on this sham leave the room and somebody shoots from that room or gets in that room and nobody returns to that room? There's something going on that we haven't figured out yet. And also, why didn't Chuck Grassley get maybe he will now, but there should be body camera footage from these guys who are showing their cell phones saying, yeah, we got footage of that guy. Maybe I forgot that too. But remember, this is some crappy version of the image allegedly taken of Crooks. He's on the wall there down. This is taken from like the roof or the first floor window or something, allegedly, of American Glass Research, and that's supposed to be Crooks. I can't tell from that photo if that is Crooks or that's the guy who is perhaps cast in the role that I'm calling faux Crooks with an X. That guy who made the videos in his car saying he's Thomas Crooks, but you've got the wrong guy. And then people say, well, why would they do that? I mean, again, George told us this in that stupid video he made in front of the wrong water tower. Why did he go to the wrong water tower and say the water tower now infamous and the low-lying building also infamous? He didn't say these aren't the actual water tower and building, but they're the only ones I had, so I'm using them as examples. He didn't say that. Even that would have been clumsy and misleading, but he's clearly trying to mislead people and inject bad information right at a time when people are trying to wipe away the bad and focus on the good so that we can, as quickly as possible, while people's memories are fresh. I mean, this has already been diminished by the fact that the FBI or whoever was able to hose off that roof. But those two officers, at least one from the Washington Regional SWAT team, they should have body camera footage from when they first get to the roof and see the dead guy, right? They take the picture of him with the cell phone. What does the body camera footage reveal? What happens when they first turn him over? What do the rest of his tattoos look like? What does his wrist look like before they put the flex cuffs on him? Max Yearick did have a tattoo on his left wrist. I don't know, can we see it in this picture? It might be cropped in this picture. There are some pictures around of Yearick with a tattoo on his left wrist, but you can't see it in the Grassley roof screen capture. Wow, they got some strong weed in there. You can't see it in the Grassley video screen capture because he's got real thick flex cuffs and the wrist tattoo is pretty thin. It's like almost like a bracelet of a tattoo, and then he's got these big flex cuffs covering it. So that's kind of interesting. Did the guy in the gray suit say, put these flex cuffs on him and take this picture? And he gives him the picture. And so, oh yeah, so, oh damn it, did I not have this or? Oh no. Right, this is it. So see, this is more evidence of Photoshop shenanigans that I found. Take a look at this. So this image was 1200 by 900 resolution, but I noticed in Photoshop that it comes to 1200 by 901. Isn't that weird? Now, cell phones do not shoot at 1200 by 900, but that is a 4 by 3 aspect ratio. That's a weird aspect ratio in 2024. That's the aspect ratio of television prior to HD TV. It's not the aspect ratio that any iPhone shoots. I don't think, well, certainly not. I know it's not. 4 by 3 might be an aspect ratio that's available, but 1200 by 900, I don't think so. And by the way, that's 1200 by 901. How would that occur? Well, it's a good thing I know somebody who is quite experienced in using Photoshop, and that little anomaly, it vexes me frequently, because what happens is, in Photoshop, one of the things that you can do is you can choose to set your units, whether you want inches or metric or pixels. And depending on what you're doing, you know, for print work in the United States, inches could be most useful. In Europe, obviously, the metric system. If you're doing on-screen graphics that will never go to print, my personal preference is to set it to pixels because it's more accurate. And if you start with a very high resolution image, and this is more frequently happening, the higher the resolution the image you start with is, whatever you have the units set to, when you're in your crop tool, you can separately set an aspect ratio, which, irrespective of the units you're measuring it in, it's a ratio. So if you set that crop tool to 4 by 3 and you crop a very high resolution image, like, I mean, the native resolution image for a photo on an iPhone is going to be maybe, I don't know, 4000 by something. Let's say the guy's got an old phone. Native resolution, let's say iPhone 11. How old is that? You know, maybe he's not upgrading it all the time. Oh, that's the screen. iPhone 11 camera. It's 12 megapixel camera. 1792 by 828. It's a lot more than that. That's the screen. Here's 2316 by 3088. There's a lot of resolutions on there, but none of them that low, and none of them 4 by 3. But how do we get to 901? Because it's not actually 4 by 3. It's like a little dangling kind of averaged pixel there, and that's what happens when you ask the computer to do math on an image that's not exactly divisible by 4 by 3. You don't come out with a perfect 1200 by 900, and this happens to me all the time. I sometimes will create the graphics at 4K or higher, particularly when I'm dealing with a lot of different elements generated by artificial intelligence. You can get a pretty large working canvas, and then when I set the crop tool to 16 by 9, which is the aspect ratio of the screen you're watching this on, if it's the higher the resolution I start with, the more likely it is that it'll give me 1920 by 1081, because I'm starting with perhaps an uneven. That's how the averaging works. So I would guess that the police Photoshop artist maybe isn't as meticulous as me, because I would have at least set that thing, instead of 4:3 aspect ratio, I would have set it to 1200 by 900 pixels, and then it forces it to that. But again, that is just, that's not proof that Yearick is on the roof, but it's just extremely strong evidence that somebody messed with this image. And by the way, notice I altered this, not because I'm saying that makes it better evidence of looking at his face, it's because I would get thrown off of YouTube. People should join on Odyssey.com. Whoop, what happened to my sound there? There we go. People should join on Odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, and then we don't have to worry about that. We can show that image all day and evaluate what we need to look at. And it's a great way to also sponsor the show, keep everything going. If you like this research, you must understand that I couldn't do it without the viewer sponsors. And so become a sponsor on Odyssey. It's you become a member, it's as little as $3 a month plus a 58-cent Odyssey fee, and you're going to get access to a really large and constantly growing library of sponsor exclusive content. And plus you'll be participating in the Crowdsource investigation. Even if you don't do any research, you're in there as a sponsor. I super appreciate the sponsors. Couldn't do this without you guys. And make sure you get onto crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com. There's actually another way to read the Twitter coup, and I forgot to mention this. I'll wrap up with this. So people are like, oh, get over it with George and blah, blah. So let's just, for a minute, FBI UCO, that sounds quite fantastic, Jason. How do you know he's an undercover operator? Well, again, I don't. It's not been proven in court. These statements are my opinion, but the opinion is based in part on the fact that George had first told me that he got into citizen journalism and independent journalism after this incident in the city he was living in at the time, which was Portland, Oregon, where there was this Christmas tree bomber, and basically a lot of protests in the town that everybody said the FBI had like groomed this guy who was kind of maybe mentally ill or something. And they had this whole meeting. That's Valerie Caproni, FBI General Counsel at that time. And she's trying to convince the Portland Police Department they need the FBI JTTF, the Joint Terrorism Task Force. And that's Caproni, right? And so when you get down with the FBI JTTF, you sign a memorandum of understanding with the FBI, and we've had an opportunity to see the one that the San Francisco Police Department signed. The Intercept is on it with FOIA requests, and they got that. The reason why the Portland police didn't want it is because they said the FBI were requiring them to do stuff that was unconstitutional, spying on people, violating the Fourth Amendment. This seems to be Valerie Caproni's favorite thing to do, and it's super duper weird because George was there involved with that, and then years later, when his brother, who I've never met, but who is psychotically obsessed with me and sends me letters every day and complains to every single business that I do business with, and has been suing me for the past 7 years, this is what these guys do. And when his brother brought lawsuits against me, guess who the judge is? It's that lady, Valerie Caproni. And what's so weird is the first lawsuit George's brother brought against me, that was in 2018. And it was the first lawsuit I was ever involved in the Southern District of New York. So I suppose it's just as likely that it would go to Judge Valerie Caproni as any other judge. But then the weird thing is, evidence seems to indicate that George's brother sent an allegedly anonymous email to the CEO of the Emmys, who then launched a 3-year lawsuit against me that's still on appeal. Guess who was the judge on that one? Oh, also Valerie Caproni. Super weird. She's very interested in what the FBI calls going dark. And I've mentioned this many times. This is the concern related to the proliferation of digital technology, including encrypted communication and chat apps with disappearing logs and all these different ways that Caproni is worried that criminals could communicate. What do they call it? Law enforcement surveillance in the face of new technology. And this is the same woman who I allege spearheaded the insertion of the FBI into Twitter. And guess who was the CEO for the plaintiff in the Emmys lawsuit that she was the judge of? It was Adam Sharp, Twitter's first US government liaison, who was working there when Valerie Caproni was the FBI general counsel, when the FBI got installed there. Does George know these people? Does his brother know these people? I don't know. I think they do. I haven't been able to prove that in court yet. These are my opinions based on public domain evidence. And Dave can send this video to a court and a judge will say, well, Mr. Swigert, you know, you're kind of a public figure. You're writing books about hacking. You're in the chat. You're posting things on Twitter. Your brother is somewhat of an apparatchik for you. He's running around on YouTube. You guys are public figures. And the fact that you're abusing the courts is in and of itself newsworthy. I'm allowed to talk about this. Anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please become a sponsor if you aren't already. I have some counter lawfare information for everyone, but I need to digest it before I start speaking extemporaneously about it. But this is nowhere near over. Thanks for tuning in, and thanks to all the sponsors on all the platforms, Subscribestar, Patreon, Odyssey, and Substack. Have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching.